Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hi, and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. I hope you had a good week. Today is the first day of, it's the first day of February. How about that? It's here already. Oh my gosh. Already the second month into the new year of 2020. Tomorrow will be 02/02/2020. How about that? It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I like it. So anyway, I don't want to hold you for too long today, so we're going to get right on to today's show. And so the title of today's show is Word is Bond, and the topic is linking your story. Now, we've all heard this analogy before, word is bond. Well, it's true. The words we speak profoundly affect our character or characters as it relates to writing. Reliability plays a significant role in the real and written world also. When we construct worlds based on fiction, writers know how important consistency is, and reliability is also a critical factor in word bonding. We all know that when we say something, people rely on that, whether it's in the real world or the fiction world. When we tell someone something, they take it as the gospel, because when you say something, it should hold integrity and it should be honest and, withhold who you are as a person. If you can be fact checked, then you want to be fact checked in the with the notion that what you said is the truth. So that way, it's like your cred. It means everything, and that's how it is in the story world. How you begin the story should carry throughout, all the way through, and the main characters may show signs of progression, but, the role they play should remain consistent. Meaning that, if they started out as the heroine of the story, well, then they will remain the heroine of the story. If they started out as the villain of the story, then they will remain the villain of the story. How you set them up, how you set the characters up, this shows consistency, should show consistency throughout the story. They shouldn't be changing roles. The heroine shouldn't become the villain and vice versa. Story linkage is vital throughout the construction of the story. If done correctly, it should enable the reader to follow the dialogue without losing direction. Now, I haven't read many books other than stories that children write, and sometimes, they sort of, go off the beaten path of what they're trying to tell you in their story. But I've not read many stories other than that where there was not some level of consistency. Now, I have seen movies that were like that. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I'm totally confused because just, in the first part of the movie, this was happening, and now it's something totally different. It's like they lost sight of whatever the message was, or whatever the plot was, or whatever it was they were trying to convey in the story. They lost it somewhere, and they never got it back. So that's important. Even if you veer off a little bit, it shouldn't take you completely away, so far away to where you can't come back to being consistent in the story. So it needs to make sense, and we know how important it is when you write stories that, although we know that it's fiction, if you're a fiction writer, then it should be believable. And so that means that you have to stay consistent, with everything that you tell. And I understand that, when we're writing, we're telling stories. In essence, it means we're lying, we're constructing stories. But still, in this construct, we still want to, like I said, have believability, and also it should be consistent. The flow of the story is essential in creative writing, and story linkage is viable throughout the construction of the story. I think I just told you that anyway. I'm sorry. But anyway, basically it has a beginning, middle, and ending that ties it all together. And cohesiveness is what readers expect in a well-written book. And I don't have to tell you that. If you're an avid reader, whether you're not a writer or whatever, if you're an avid reader, and we all have our favorite authors, and they're our favorite authors, for more than one reason. Because they told a story that was so powerful that it stayed with us. And so, we just can't wait for the next thing, that for the next book that they write, that's coming out or whatever. But they have a certain style of writing that draws us in. And, and the stories are they're just so believable, to where, word is bond. Everything that they said in the book, we believe it. And so it makes us fans, and they become a fan favorite because of their style of writing and their consistency in how they tell a story, because all of those things are important. It's not like making a pot of goulash where you just throw everything in, and it tastes good. Well, storytelling is a little bit different. Yeah, we put a lot of ingredients in there, but still those ingredients or specific to whatever it is that we're making. It's just not a hodgepodge of this and a hodgepodge of that. It all makes sense. It's all consistent. So that way, in the end, it will be good. Now, the start and finish often reflect each other, and it should, in which case you've already chosen a story theme, which makes it easier to recognize the characters' personalities, their purpose, and how they will carry the story. Because trust me, the characters always carry the story. It's about them, so they have to carry it. They play a significant role throughout, from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's where consistency, again, is so vital. It is so important to stay consistent throughout the story. Don't wishy-wash. That's not good. You want to build on the story. You want to build the story on the characters' backs, because they carry the full load. So based on how you set them up at the beginning of the book, it just carries the complete tone of the story. So you want to make sure that everything is cohesive. Everything is just bonded together well. Now, I know that as writers, sometimes we can overstep our creative authority. And just because we can doesn't always mean we should. And what I mean by this is that sometimes, we get a little heavy-handed when we're when we're developing stories, and we want to dive into different areas and try to blend them into the story. But certain ideas don't mesh well with all stories. Sometimes I don't do storyboards, but I do take notes. I think about what it is that I want to write about. I most of the time I know the ending before the beginning of the story. And but still they all fit together. The beginning, the middle, and the end, they all come together. It's like a big puzzle, and you know how all the pieces fit in, and you have to get them all in the right slot in order for them to fit together. Well, that's how it is when you are constructing stories, when you're trying to build that bond, trying to make everything cohesive. And so when you start, just because you are the creator of this story, you think that you can just go in every direction, but you can't. It should make sense. It should make sense. You don't want to write a story to where it's hard to follow and no one understands what's going on, because you have this, you have that, and none of it goes together. It's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. We know that that's not going to fit because it doesn't make sense. And what we need to do is remember that, you can make the story complex, because I've read books where the plot was very complex, but try to stay at one main plot. Subplots are exciting, but they can also diminish the logic behind the story. Now, I've seen movies to where there was, especially mystery, movies dealing with things like that. To me, subplots work in that because, of course, it's a mystery. So I guess it just depends on what genre you're actually working in. If it's romance, or if it's horror, or mystery, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever it is. Still, you need a level of cohesiveness, because you have to blend. The story has to blend well, and it has to bond well. You've had instances where you've broken something and you need to glue it back together. Well, you know that you can either put the right amount of glue on it or you can put too much on it. And if you put too much on it, then you know what that looks like, right? So I don't have to explain that to you further. So you want to make sure that that everything blends together well. I just made a dish, and it's oven baked fajitas. So it called for cream cheese, and cream cheese is it's soft, when you leave it at room temperature. But of course, I'm working with it because I just got it from the store, so it's not had a chance to reach room temperature. It's still at that refrigerated temperature, and so it's hard to blend. It's hard to make it blend together well. It's not like mayonnaise where you just put it in a bowl and you just whisk it together and boom, there you go. So so I had to mix some fajita seasoning with this cream cheese. And so I started out using a fork, trying to blend it all together. And so it blended it blended well enough, but then I had to spread it over the chicken. So so let me tell you what a fight that was. And, so it's important, everything has to be just right in order for it to flow the way that you want it to. So that was a lesson for me. And it went so well with what I'm talking about today, because you need that. You need that level of cohesiveness. You need that blending that is, that is well paired, with whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's in telling a story or cooking a meal. Everything needs to be the way that it should be. So just remember, word is bond, but the perfect balance is essential too when linking your story together. I'm sorry, folks. For some reason, my system wants to sort of fail me just a little bit. So, but I'm trying to hang on here. But I think I'm going to be all right. Okay. So anyway, before I let you go, I want to make sure that I give you out these URLs so you can keep up with the show. The first one, of course, is to Spreaker. It is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian Moore. You can follow me, like me, on Facebook and Twitter, and also on Instagram. But Instagram is through invitation only, so you can send me a message, a friend request, and I will look at it. And also, you can go to my website. It is https://authorvivianmoore.com. And also, if you follow my blog, you can go to https://vivianemore.blogspot.com to look at today's script, and also all the other ones that followed before. Next week we won't have a script because we will have a live guest on the show, so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that you will tune in to listen to the topic that we will be talking about. And also, if you missed today's live version of the show, don't despair, because there are other ways for you to listen to the show. You can listen to recorded episodes every day if you want to, and each week. Of course, Spreaker is the main one where you can listen to it live or you can listen to the recorded episode. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and also Podchaser. So there you go. And also YouTube, if I failed to mention that as well. There is another one where you can listen to the show. Well, folks, pretty much that's all we have for today. Tomorrow is the first Sunday, so I hope you're planning on going out to worship tomorrow. You should worship every day, but especially on Sunday. And, take your family, take some neighbors, some friends, and by all means, take some children and tell someone that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.